Hello, hello, beloveds. I'm recording this sitting out at one of my favorite spots at the lake, and the water sounds that you may be hearing in the background are the lake. It's a fairly misty, very cool gray day, and the waters of the lake are rumbling around in little waves, making these lovely, delightful noises as they come up here on this tiny little pocket beach, side beach that I like to come and visit. And I'm recording this on human time, Saturday morning of February 5th, 2022. And it doesn't matter when I'm recording it, but some of you are following closely with the recent big shifts in energies that have been happening. And what I want to talk about today is that we have entered a new cycle, a new phase, a new age. And as I shared in earlier posts and episodes, Earth closed all of her lower timelines as of January 21st. And since then, there have been just many big gates, big shifts that have occurred for many layers of existence and life force around the planet, on the planet, including, of course, humans, including, of course, the individual you and me in many different ways. And I've shared about those, so you can go back and review those if you haven't heard them. You don't need them for this episode, but they may be very useful in supporting what's coming for you individually. So, but I want to talk at this larger scale for a minute. I want to share. I'm prompted to share from this larger scale about what has occurred. So we have stepped into a completely new age. And it's very hard for me to have words for this, but I trust that they will come as I'm with you here. This beautiful new golden age that we have entered, it is here, and not everyone has yet felt it come alive in them or kind of come through the passage, if you will. So you may experience exactly everything I'm going to be describing, and you may also feel like, I don't feel like I'm there yet, and that is fine. We are in this passage point, this passageway. Some are in this passageway still and moving along. Many different visuals kind of flow in as I say that. So, of course, the classic birth canal visual, but it feels much more collective than an individual kind of birthing canal. It feels more like, people are kind of moving along, a trail or a passageway, and some people have kind of reached kind of the end of the trail and have crossed over the bridge to the next side. And others are still walking along. It also feels very much like that feeling of when you come out on a dock and you're going to step out off the dock onto the boat, and you kind of have that experience of, I've got one foot on the dock and one foot on the boat, and that's sort of oh, wait a minute, hope the boat doesn't, go too quickly until I get on it. But then that feeling of, I've stepped onto the boat fully and the boat has left the dock. And so that's what I feel, that I'm on the dock. That I've left the dock and I'm on the boat, and my boat has left the dock. But there are many boats, every boat, all of you have your own boats. And so you may be on the dock, you may be, halfway in between, with a foot on both. You may be also in your boat getting settled. Your boat may have left the dock. somewhere, anywhere along the way. What is not available is to leave the dock and go back into the old. That's entirely closed. So there's been this feeling also for a couple of days for me, of like the feeling of, okay, feels awesome, feels great, all this big new expansive energy feels super playful and fun, and I'm ready to party, and I'm ready to dance, and I'm ready to kind of get into the groove of all the new things. And it's like showing up at the nightclub, but before it's opened, or showing up at the nightclub and you can get in the door, but the music hasn't started playing yet, and you're like, I'm ready to dance, but nobody's there yet. And so there was this feeling of a kind of very floaty, it wasn't unpleasant, it was just this very sort of floaty, dreamy, kind of like waiting, kind of a limbo, not a void at all, kind of a limbo kind of phase, but not a limbo like a suspended animation at all, just a kind of, okay, I'll just wait. And now I feel like things are beginning. The party is starting to, people are starting to arrive at the party, and I just got to the party really, really early. Is what it feels like. So some of you are coming into the party, and some of you are still, on your way. And don't worry, the party's not going to end anytime soon. So there is this incredible energetic this morning of an integration, like a full completion and maturation of an integration that feels both like you could think of it as both a horizontal and a vertical, kind of in terms of planes, if you will, the sort of vertical being that kind of earth to sky, earth to cosmic, the horizontal being kind of around the many planes that we experience here, and also like masculine and feminine, and the four directions, and just all of these different ways of thinking about it. But it's a very it's an incredible mystic, esoteric, energetic for me. Very, very powerful. And I feel and experience the sort of rapid flickering of the many, 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 many experiences, many lives, that my being, my full cosmic being, has had from the beginning. And as a founder being from the beginning of the many, many universes, not just this universe that we are in. And I want to say that I'm not talking about the kind of popular science fiction idea of the kind of multiverse where there's sort of many different parallel universes. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about completely discrete, different universes. And there are infinite, just as there are so many infinite galaxies and star systems and worlds and realms and beings. And I feel them all in me, and they sort of kaleidoscope through in a very beautiful, sort of joyous way. And the thing about where we are now, for me, that has been in my personal journey, so this is a personal sharing that may be useful or not. As always with everything that I ever share, it is hopefully that you will take what is useful and leave the rest without judgment. So this personal share for me, this personal experience for me, has been an awareness that has been coming in that much of my work, so to speak, is complete. And much of how I have understood my purpose in this human life is complete. And this has been a very odd feeling. And the habits of understanding of that work and that purpose and aligning myself to it and building capacity and muscle and skill and and space and resource to pursue that work, to be on point with that work, to express that work, and that work has been one key guiding light, if you will, for my human to understand her ever evolving embodied expression of her cosmic self, and to put that work down, not because I'm done with it, but because it is complete, is a very kind of, it was a disconcerting feeling. Like, well, what does that even mean? What do I do with that? What do I do now? And so in some posts that I've shared, I've talked about question all of your assumptions and do not settle and do not rush, because this new age is here and this new phase has begun. And as you arrive in it, what you are to do or to be in it may be, probably, if you're listening to this, will be radically new, energetically, from how you have been being and doing. Now, that doesn't mean that the doings all have to change. Maybe they do for you. I don't feel they do for me. There are some doings that will start to conclude naturally and have been concluding naturally. And there are other doings that will expand, and I am looking forward to them. But the guiding principle now for me is entirely now for me what is delightful and playful and fun within my ever expanding embodiment of my cosmic being here in this human life, in this human journey, in this human experience of becoming Homo lumens. And while what delights me, what is playful, what is fun has been one guiding light, it has been more sort of like a value or principle, where the work that I have felt called, that has been an inner drive throughout my life, that has been the North Star, or the kind of the thing that pulls me along even when I don't really know what to do next. And that is, as I said, complete. That is back on the dock. That is over. And now I'm in this amazing boat, journeying out into entirely uncharted waters. And where will I go? Where will it take me? And now the value and the principle for me of what is beautiful, what is delightful, what is joyous, what is expanding, what is fun, what is playful, that is all that is allowed inside the container of me, which includes all of my experiences. And what I found in recent days leading up to this understanding and awareness is that there was a particular aspect of a change happening in my external circumstances that I have been working with for a couple of weeks now, where I was being not overly fully tree frog mind level grippy, but a little tiny bit grippy and a little tiny bit anxious about, oh well, I want it to be delightful and I want it to be fun and spacious and beautiful and playful, but I better kind of take this option that's presenting itself. This looks like it's probably the best option that's going to be available for this thing, so I better just take it. Even though something didn't feel quite 100% right, if you will. And so my human kept kind of overriding. My brain kept overriding that feeling of like, well, no, that's not really what I want. Well, no, but that's okay. You're going to do that anyway. And the kind of sort of the backfill that I was doing to kind of make sense of it was driven by this old assumption of my purpose is kind of the core driver, is the through line. And so trying to kind of retrofill into this option how it would serve that purpose. But I'm completed with that purpose. I didn't understand that until really fully 100% until this morning. And so then all those assumptions for decision making, they're out the window. They're not relevant anymore. And so there's some habits that have to be kind of let go of and discarded, right? That come from that. So I sit here at the lake, and I sit here with the lake, and I will tell you that there have been 2 instances in these last couple of weeks as I've been working with this particular, personal external circumstance, that doesn't matter what it is, but that potentially outcomes from that would be that I would move away from the lake, further away from the lake, and feeling into, is that correct? Right? And again, this idea of what is correct for me. And the assumption or the driver or the definer of what is correct for me has very much been about this purpose and this old work that is complete, that this phase of work that is done. And so as I was sort of allowing myself to be, to surrender into, if you will, that purpose and saying, I don't understand what that will look like, but I surrender to it, again and again, as I always do. The lake and I twice had this conversation in which the lake presented as a female. She, he, it. The lake is a collective and coalesces into a fairly unified voice to communicate with me in a way that my awake human awareness can integrate and work with. And so in these 2 instances presented in a kind of a she voice, in a female voice. And she said, it's okay if you have to go. You've already learned how to bring me inside you, and I will be with you wherever you go. It's all right if you have to leave. And there was this sort of semi-goodbye energy. And both times that this occurred, I burst into tears from that kind of grief, sadness of going, of the idea of going from a thing, from a being, from a place that is beloved. And I thought that this was part of my duty, part of my obligation to my purpose. And what I came to understand during the evening, during the night, in and out of dream time and into awake time, and then in and out of dream time, and integrating on all of that throughout the morning before coming here to the lake, various time at altar. I shared some images of my time at altar with you earlier on my socials. An incredibly powerful message for me at altar time. And I don't go to altar time every day. I have had phases where altar time daily or several times throughout the day has been useful to me. And then I have phases where I don't need it at all. And then phases where it's just fun, right? And, I sometimes find it useful and enjoyable and fun to use I primarily use, I get asked this question a lot, so I'll mention it. This one deck that is called Tarot of the She, Sidhe, by Emily Carding, and then runes, and I have 2 rune sets that I was called to bring into my home and into my altar, one made from rose quartz and one made from labradorite. And they both speak to me. And the runes are beings that are before this world was created. And they come through in this form, but they are not the word or the sign or the alphabet or the mental model. They are an energy, an essence, a being. Not rest of that for another time. But so back to this. So very powerful. And I was working through several stages of acceptance and understanding of all that I have shared this morning and that I'm sharing here with you now before I came to the lake. Because, and I thought I would come to the lake to do that work, but what actually unfolded was that I did that work at home and at altar and in various different phases throughout the morning, because coming to the lake today was to come and say and declare, I am going to stay here. That all that what I want and desire and will delight in is that my next home is here with the lake. And I have a lot of I'm just really firm about it. And I'm just really clear about it. And I don't know, which home that will be. And I don't know how it will present itself. And I don't know if I will rent it or if I will buy it. Some of you are aware that Lake House 1, where I live now, is a rented situation that I was called into in November of 2020, a year and a quarter ago. And that phase, Lake House 1 phase, which I named it Lake House 1 the second it was made aware to me that that's where I would live, because I knew there would be more than one lake house. So Lake House 1 phase is ending sometime between now and June 30. And it's all good. It's all handled. It's all taken care of. As long as, I stay in my devotion to this new phase within me and don't accidentally trip and fall back into old habits from the old phase that is complete and closed to me now. Now, some of you will recognize some of the things that I'm describing either viscerally from the actual words I'm using or viscerally from the energetics that are coming through as I'm describing them. And some of you will feel like, oh, I sense this is coming for me, but I don't know exactly in what way in terms of my current external circumstances of my life this is going to play out, but I sense it is coming. And so what I want you to be aware of is that this passage portal time where people are coming through still is open for a few weeks, I feel. Certainly through the third week of February and possibly actually into March or even April. There are several key inflection points occurring in later the second half of February, again in March, and then again in April. And so I want to, it feels most joyful to leave all of the possibilities open, and they all feel very open. So it's the most important takeaway I want for you today is there is time. There is no need to rush. And do not settle. Do not settle, do not settle, do not settle, do not settle. So the option that I described earlier that I was looking at that I've discarded was a different home. There was a possibility. And it was a home that appeared from the outside to be beautiful and incredible and many, many positives and in many ways upgrades. And in visiting it and processing that visit, there were little hints around the edges, energetically and physically, of a kind of shabbiness. And I don't mean like a cool, shabby chic kind of thing. I mean like a sort of a carelessness in the creation, little unfinished here, unfinished there, not a loved creation. And the stirring within me after processing that visit began from the place of a kind of a tension, a friction around, I don't desire to live in that carelessness, that lack of attention to detail, that lack of love and care and devotion to what was created. I don't desire to live in that. There's a friction for me in that I kept trying to overlook and could not, like a tiny little splinter or like a tiny little pebble in your shoe. And that friction, that grit in the oyster, was what supported me and helped propel me throughout the evening, in dream time and in awake time, to come through to the pearl of awareness and understanding this morning. And that I'm now describing to you as it approaches midday, noon, where I'm at in Pacific time. So, as I have been a stand for love and for light and for earth and for the deep sacred current of life force, which is all those things, for all these human years and many other lives as well. And as I have stood firmly with my staff, with my sword, with my powers, with my magic, and as I have embraced and cared and birthed and loved and nourished and fed and weaned many, many of these creations, I now will stand for my own being to have this next phase be entirely free of obligation, of duty, of all of that. That is gone. That is left, not on the dock, but back on the land before even stepping on the dock. And I'm just now catching up with that myself in my awake human awareness. And the reason I'm being so emphatic about this in this episode to you, in this sharing and transmission to you, is because I am also offering that stand to you. That energetic is available for you to pick up and bring up within you. And I hope that you'll take it. I hope that you will use it to strengthen within yourself for whatever this next phase is. And I will say that for some of you, this next phase will have work that is purpose-driven. And that is glorious. It is, if you will, my job to pass the baton to you in that regard. There is work for you to do now, for you to take up, and for you to get ready to do. And where it is delightful and fun and playful for me, I will support that. But my work in the regards to the bringing about of our new world, of our new energetics, of Earth's transition in her Evo leap to a new phase, I have completed that. Many of the mid-dimensions are coming alive in more expanded ways here on Earth, with increased access for humans and other beings. And to be clear, what I speak about when I speak about dimensions, So there are many models we can use for this, but the one that I find most useful is of 12 dimensions. And there is actually a 13th dimension, or a non-dimension dimension is more correct. But of 12 dimensions that the deep sacred current of life force flows through, all of them all together, not being a place. They're not places, they're not realms, they're not worlds. You don't go to them, they are here. And my correct experiences, aligned experiences, are 12th dimension and some 11th dimension. And then the bringing of that into my embodied human experience here in the physical third dimension. First, second, third. All here in various ways that you can think of. Now, I have never had any interest or value to me or to my work and my creational energy to have anything to do with fourth dimension, a messy space, a messy dimension that many of you have been entangled with. And much of that is clearing, and the golden light is moving through it. And then we have increasing experience of many accessing fifth dimension energies here, which has been available for many for some time. And so when I say kind of more of the mid dimensions coming in, for some of you listening, I mean 6, 7, 8, and 9 are increasingly opening. Like these are parts of kind of the new parties, right? So it's a block party, and there are many different homes opening, and the homes are the different dimensions and the many realms that align most firmly with those dimensions. And by realms, I also include star systems. And so more and more and more, those parties are going to kind of kick into higher and higher gear. And you're here maybe to really kind of kick off some of those parties and lead in some of those parties and be the DJs and choose the music and choose songs and show people the dance moves. And I am delighted that will be happening. I have played and journeyed in those realms, and I am done with my interest there for the most part. So I may bop in to your party here and there for one of my favorite songs, but these are your parties to run. So be a stand for yourself and for those parties if you feel called into what I'm describing. So much beautiful things to be done, so much beauty to be experienced, so much joy and delight. And I'm just so excited for my own human to just even begin to even think about what would it be like to create from this new energetics for me. I have no idea. It's going to be really fun. I'll continue to share it with you. I hope that you will celebrate with me. Definitely more stories. More stories. We're going to go big on the stories. Stories are everything. So fun. Well, I hope that the sound here has been good, and that the waves, the little lapping lake noises and lake energies have been beneficial to you as they have been to me. And yeah, I love you so much. I love you, and I delight with you, and I play with you, and I thank you for your light in the world. I'm glad to know you here in this energetic space. Luminous one, radiant one, beloved. Let's get dancing. Block party is beginning. Talk to you soon.